Thanks so much for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Charlene Israel. It is being called one of the most powerful typhoons ever recorded. Super Typhoon Haiyan slammed into the Philippines Friday, and although there was plenty of warning, officials fear the worst. Winds exceeding 124 miles per hour and heavy rains triggered landslides, uprooted trees, and ripped off roofs across the central Philippines today. Typhoon Haiyan is believed to be the strongest ever to hit land, more powerful than a Category 5 hurricane.
The winds right now estimated at 195 miles per hour. To give you an idea of how strong that is, Katrina at its strongest winds are only 175 miles per hour. We're talking gusts right now over 200 miles per hour.
Haiyan is a massive 300 miles wide. That's about the distance from Boston to Philadelphia.
Along the path of this storm, you can expect complete devastation. It's going to act like a razor blade along the path of its eye.
More than 700,000 people were forced to evacuate, but officials say they still fear a massive loss of life and property. Due to cut-off communication, it's still impossible to know the extent of casualties and damage. One official told the Associated Press by phone, quote, "When you're faced with such a scenario, you can only pray and pray and pray." Forecasters say Typhoon Haiyan is passing out of the Philippines and moving into the South China Sea on Saturday, heading towards Vietnam. They say one positive aspect of this storm is that it's moving so fast that flooding from heavy rains may not be as bad.
Our Asia correspondent Lucille Toluson joins us now in Manila by way of Skype. The eye of the storm passed south of the Philippines capital. Lucille, what can you tell us about the storm's impact on the Philippines?
Yes, well, right now here in Metro Manila, we are experiencing heavy rainfall and also gusty winds. But Typhoon Yolanda, that's how we call it here in the Philippines, made 5 landfalls in several island provinces in central Philippines, which is the island of Visayas. And right now there are power outages in the whole island. It's out of power there, and communication is disrupted as a result. There's been a lot of damages to the houses, and the Filipinos there were really terrified of the very strong winds that hit the area in the Visayas.
Wow, understandably. CBN Disaster Relief has a strong presence in the Philippines. How are they preparing to help the victims?
The teams are just waiting for to be deployed right now because of very poor communication. They cannot identify yet which areas to go to, as you have reported. It's very wide. The scope of the typhoon is very wide, and but I was talking to Dr. Kim Pascual, who heads the CBN Disaster Relief here in the Philippines, and she said that the teams are already preparing, and of course we are going to distribute relief goods such as mats, blankets, and tents. Indeed. And also food and water. You know, Ephraim, CBN, the disaster relief teams have been very busy for the past 5 months. Absolutely. You know, we've been hit with storms, monsoon rains, the earthquake, the war. Absolutely. And right now, CBN is still there in Zamboanga helping with the livelihood of the victims of the war. They're now in Bohol. All right. The Bohol was the one that was struck by the earthquake, feeding all right, Lucille, the
thank you.
victims of the typhoon.
Thank you so much. We're out of time, but thank you so much. We will continue to pray for the area.
Iran could soon see a break from economic sanctions. There's now word of a deal that could freeze economic sanctions against the country in exchange for it slowing down its nuclear activities. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the international community is making a big mistake and Iran is getting a free pass.
They're paying nothing because they're not reducing in any way their nuclear enrichment capability. So Iran got the deal of the century, and the international community got a bad deal. This is a very bad deal. And Israel utterly rejects it. And what I'm saying is shared by many, many in the regions, whether or not they express it publicly. Israel is not obliged by this agreement, and Israel will do everything it needs to do to defend itself and to defend the security of its people.
Meanwhile, a U.S. Senate panel still plans to move ahead with a new round of sanctions against Iran.
23 U.S. senators sent a bipartisan letter Thursday asking President Obama to engage in direct talks with Iran to free Pastor Saeed Abedini. Saeed was recently transferred to Rajashar Prison, known to be even more dangerous than Evin Prison, where he was previously jailed. The senators called Saeed's transfer a potential death sentence. They're asking President Obama to speak out for his freedom.
President Obama has apologized to Americans forced off of their health insurance plans by his health care overhaul. For years, he repeatedly said that people who were satisfied with their coverage could keep it. But millions have already learned they're losing their insurance because their policies don't meet the requirements of Obamacare. In an interview with NBC News, the president said he did not do enough to ensure that the law did not force people off their plans. He says his administration is working to close some of the holes and gaps in Obamacare.
I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me.
Meanwhile, the president's apology isn't enough for Republicans. In a statement, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said if the president is truly sorry for breaking his promises to the American people, he'll do more than just issue a half-hearted apology on TV.
With midterm elections around the corner, many GOP senators are supporting the strongest push to restrict abortion in a decade. Thursday, Senator Lindsey Graham and other Republicans introduced a bill to ban abortions after 20 weeks of pregnancy. The premise of the bill is that fetuses feel pain after 20 weeks. It also allows the murder trial of Philadelphia late-term abortion doctor Kermit Gosnell. 11 of 14 GOP senators up for re-election stand behind the measure. A similar bill passed the House this summer.
The Senate approved a bill to ban workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. The Employment Non-Discrimination Act, or ENDA, had bipartisan support. House Speaker John Boehner opposes the bill and is unlikely to schedule a vote. He says the legislation will increase frivolous litigation and cost American jobs. Evangelist Billy Graham made a rare public appearance last night for his 95th birthday party.
As John Jessup reports, family, friends, and many big names came together to celebrate a true American treasure.
800 people packed into the Grove Park Inn in Asheville, North Carolina to serenade and celebrate Billy Graham's 95 years. At times, overcome with emotion.
God's given us peace. As long as you want us, I'll be there.
The guests gathered to show their love and admiration for a man known as America's pastor. Among them, Christian music artist Michael W. Smith.
He's been a great friend for a long time, and we did many crusades, and I still visit him in Montreat, as much as I can, and he's in good spirits.
And CBN's own Pat Robertson.
It's just a joy to celebrate his 95th birthday. It was a great tribute to a great man.
A preacher for 70 years, Graham's birthday celebration wasn't merely a party. It was also a night to do what he's done his whole life, minister the gospel.
The only way to the Father God, is through his Son, Jesus Christ.
And just as he has all these years in stadiums and on TV, this sermon ends with a straightforward call for salvation.
I'm asking you to put your trust in Christ. I'm going to ask you to pray this prayer.
At 95, his life is still impacting millions, and his legacy is strong. John Jessup, CBN News.
My hope, special with him last night, it was incredible. I had tears in my eyes. It was powerful.
Happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday.
Such a blessing.
Yes. Coming up, the fight against trans fats. The government moves to remove them from the food supply, but will the fast food industry fight back?
Hi, my name is Breda. I'm just your typical 9-year-old. I love singing, dancing, reading, discovering the simple truth. My grandpa says you're never too young or old to learn the value of a dollar. He taught me the true value of this paper dollar. You see this little gold coin? It says $1 on it. But guess what? That was a long time ago. Today, this gold dollar is worth over 100 paper dollars. This paper dollar is now only worth 1 penny compared to America's former money, the gold dollar. My grandpa says the only money we're saving today is real money, gold or silver coins. He's pretty smart. How our paper dollars lost their value, he says. It's all explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. It's easy and fun to read. If you call the number on the screen, I will send you a copy, totally free. Next time, I'll explain the simple truth about money.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Help!
And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
Scientists say the danger of space rocks smashing into Earth is greater than they thought. They began reassessing the threat after a meteor exploded over a Russian city back in February. It flew through the sky at 42,000 miles an hour and exploded in the air with the force of 40 Hiroshima-type atomic bombs. No one saw it coming because it came from the direction of the sun. Now scientists say the biggest danger is from smaller space rocks like that one. It was only 62 feet wide. Those rocks are far more likely to hit Earth than a bigger meteor, but they could still devastate cities.
The Food and Drug Administration says Americans are facing a more imminent danger in the aisles of their neighborhood grocery stores in the form of trans fats. The agency announced it plans to eliminate trans fats from the American food supply. But as Lori Johnson reports, the processed food industry will likely fight the measure.
Packaged foods are loaded with trans fats because they're cheap, have a smooth texture, and prevent food from spoiling. Michael Moss investigated the processed food industry and says their huge profits are largely due to trans fats.
They got big by making products that are utterly irresistible to people, both in taste but also ultra convenient, that will sit on the shelf and be waiting for you when you're ready to eat them, and also incredibly low cost.
But trans fats are deadly, according to the medical community. Dr. Michael Aziz says because trans fats are artificially synthesized in a lab, our body doesn't know what to do with them.
Trans fats are really like plastic, and when we eat them, they incorporate in our cells, and the cells cannot communicate or talk to one another. In turn, hormones are disturbed. Weight gain follows, but more troubling, the risk for heart disease, cancer, stroke, infertility goes up.
Trans fats have even been linked to Alzheimer's disease and are the cornerstone of an inflammatory diet. Cardiologist Deepak Talreja tells his patients to scan a product's list of ingredients for trans fats, which are also called hydrogenated oils.
Trans fats are probably one of the most dangerous things we can consume that you see in everyday foods available to us that have no restrictions on them.
The Food and Drug Administration is giving food companies 2 months to try to prove trans fats are safe. If they can't, they'll be given a deadline to phase them out. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Up next, he may not be James Bond, but he's still on a mission to save England. How this hooligan is trying to protect his country from the enemy within.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
A dispute over the role of Islamic law in Egypt has Christians on the country's constitutional committee threatening to drop out. The hardline Islamist Al-Noor party wants to add a definition of Sharia law to the constitution. Critics say that could lead to a stricter interpretation of Sharia law. Christians on the committee say if the Islamists force the issue, they may quit the committee to show their concern. The committee is amending the Constitution as part of the roadmap to relaunch democracy in Egypt. A referendum on the amendment is scheduled for next month.
British intelligence leaders say al-Qaeda is rubbing its hands in glee over the classified information revealed by NSA leaker Edward Snowden. One told lawmakers that Muslim terror groups are having daily discussions about ways to mask their communications and avoid surveillance. 3 spy chiefs testified before the House of Commons in televised hearings Thursday. The head of Britain's domestic intelligence unit revealed that hundreds of UK residents are now in Syria fighting with Islamic rebels against the government. The civil war is attracting foreign fighters from European countries. Well, Britain is in a fight for its survival against radical Islam.
But those who are fighting to save Britain's future aren't considered heroes. Instead, they're publicly ridiculed. Dale Hurd has the story now from England.
Enough's enough. For years, he has been Britain's bad boy, a hero to many. The left in Britain labeled him a racist and a Nazi. He is Stephen Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson, former head of the English Defence League. Tommy Robinson was a pseudonym he adopted in the early days of the group, when it was risky to be a member. I interviewed Lennon before he shocked Britain last month by announcing that he was leaving the English Defence League. The EDL began in the working-class town of Luton in 2009, when militant Muslims protested against British soldiers returning from Iraq. From there, it grew to become a self-styled defender of democracy against the spread of radical Islam in Britain. The EDL was able to turn out thousands of supporters at its demonstrations. Tough men from the working class.
You have some rough-looking guys at your demonstrations.
Of course, yeah. Working class communities in this country are rough communities. It was never going to be doctors and nurses that stand up to militant Islam on the streets of this country. When we first formed, the response against us was a very violent response by members of the Islamic community who come out, and images were sent across this country in national newspapers and in media of our supporters on the floor getting their heads kicked in. Now, when we went to our next demonstration, how many female 30-year-old school teachers are going to come out and oppose militant Islam? There's a certain sort of man that decides to dig in the trenches on the front line to fight for our Queen and our country in faraway fields against forces of Sharia in Afghanistan and Iraq. It's the same sort of man that's willing to protect it at home.
But after years of trying to keep extremists and Nazis out of the EDL, Lennon finally threw in the towel and left, as he explained on BBC's Newsnight program.
I'd battled for 4 years to keep racists, Nazis, extremists out of this movement. I battled and dedicated my life to it, and they were invited back. And I felt let down by the people that in the organisation that were in positions, the same people that are calling me a traitor now, that were in positions invited Nazis to stand with them in the street. One of my offences is for knocking out one of these Nazis. In the early days of the English Defence League, purity comes with time in any organisation. When we formed, we're a nationalistic organisation. It attracted the wrong sorts as well as the right sorts. And it took us years of battling these wrong sorts and these Nazi elements to get rid of them, to let them know we stand with Israel, we fully support Israel.
The other charge against Lenin that he hears over and over is that he's a racist.
Please tell me how I'm a racist bigot. Please explain to me. Please explain. Couldn't explain. Because you are. No, I'm not a racist bigot because you tell me I'm a racist bigot. No. This left-wing and far-left view and agenda that anyone who has a different opinion to you is a racist or bigot is the reason that grooming gangs have been facilitated in this country. And people have not been allowed to say how they feel because you're a racist. Bang, bang, beat them back down. And then if you're a racist, you lose your job. My goddaughter is black. My niece is mixed race. So Englishness is not about the colour of your skin.
Lenin warns that British authorities are creating the conditions for civil war by both allowing the spread of radical Islam and restricting freedom of speech to criticize and protest against it.
So we have this democracy where we've actually had people, some of our members have been given 10-year ASBOs not to protest about Islam. Really? This is the land of democracy. If you're disgusted at what's happening in this country, what are you supposed to do? Because through democracy, when you're angry, you channel that frustration through peaceful protest. You take that right away from people, what are they going to do? They're going to be responsible for creating monsters. The last thing we want is a war in this country. But it's the inevitable outcome to the way the country's going. Now, the British people are not going to sit back and take much more.
Even though he has left the EDL, Lenin says it hasn't changed his opinion that radical Islam is still the biggest threat Britain faces.
Previous prime ministers, whether it be William Gladstone, said there'll never be peace on this earth so long as we have the Quran. It's an accursed and violent book. Then we have Winston Churchill, who said Islam and a man is like rabies in a dog. And then we have David Cameron, who says Islam's religion of peace. What's changed? Because the book hasn't changed.
Now that the man known as Tommy Robinson has left the EDL, there are fears that it could splinter and become what it was always accused of being, a violent, dangerous collection of neo-Nazis and white supremacists. Lenin says he's chosen a new strategy of working with moderate Muslims in the hope that more people will listen to his message. But even though he's left the English Defence League, Stephen Lennon still lives every day under a death threat.
Am I scared of the death threats? People want to kill me and attacks against me, etc. Yeah, I am. Of course I am. I wouldn't be human if I wasn't. But I am terrified for the entire next generation of this country and for this country's history, its culture, its identity. It's all under attack.
Dale Hurd, CBN News in Luton, England.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing. If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
that parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing.
Well, the weekend is here, and that means it is time for our regular movie reviews. Here with more is Bob Waliszewski. He's director of Focus on the Family's entertainment review department called Plugged In Online. So, Bob, let's start with the new installment of Thor, The Dark World. How does it rank? Is it too dark for children?
It's PG-13. We gave the last Thor, the original Thor, a 3.5 out of 5 for family friendliness, and we give this one a 3.5 out of 5 for family friendliness. It's been a couple years since Thor has been on Earth and connected with Jane. He's been up battling in the 9 realms, trying to keep peace because of rebellion. Meanwhile, Jane, who's a scientist, discovers there's a portal on Earth. To where, she's not real sure. Next thing you know, here comes Thor. And next thing you know, she discovers this smoky, they call it ether. I think of the smoke monster in the Lost series. It gives power to the owner, and an evil elf wants that power and wants that smoke. And it looks like Thor's going to have to come battle some more. The battle scenes can be quite intense, not overly gruesome, which is pretty typical, but there are a couple scenes that are arguably like, maybe that one went a little bit far. There's a mad scientist that runs around in the buff, fortunately pixelated, or that would be a major problem here. And one profanity and one almost. For teens on up, I wouldn't recommend it for younger kids, but for teens on up, I think that 3.5, which is cautionary, but not overly so, is worth noting.
All right, from the big screen to the small screen, the Hallmark Channel has a movie out today called Pete's Christmas. How did that catch your attention?
I like this one. Think of this as Groundhog's Day, only at Christmas time. The young man that was in Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, he plays a middle child in a family where he feels like the older brother, who's the jock, gets all the attention, and his younger brother, who's a brainy guy, gets all the attention. Between the two, he gets none, wakes up on Christmas morning, and it's one disaster after another after another. When he goes to bed, the alarm clock goes off. The next morning, it's Christmas all over again. Then the very next day, it's Christmas all over again. Well, he finally realizes that some of the things that have been happening, all these disasters, he can change. We've seen this before, but it's cute in the Christmas context. I say, why not pop the popcorn at home, save the pricey movie tickets and the $10 a tub buttered popcorn, and maybe consider on the Hallmark Channel, 8 Eastern, Pete's Christmas.
All right, hard to believe. It's Christmas again. We'll see you next week, Bob.
Okay, Ephraim.
Christmas movies, Christmas music.
Already.
Christmas ads.
It is here.
Get ready.
Season is here.
Well, that's going to do it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
Tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you join us next time. Have a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.